Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. We are super excited to have two lovely people with us again. So I think we chatted with you both last year, but we've got Kayla and Yana, and with a very exciting announcement and stuff going on with y'all. And so thank you for joining us. Really quickly, we'll just do a quick round of intros. I'm Natalie. I am the director at Nochi Studios, and I'm going to pass it to Kayla.
Hi, I'm Kayla. I'm one of the co-founders of Lovely Inc., an Otome Games studio.
And I'm Yana, the other co-founder of Lovely Ink Studio too.
So I love all the marketing that you guys have been putting out for Snowkissed Romance. And last time when we had you all on here, you guys were talking about doing the remake for it, and now it's finally here, which is so
Mm-hmm.
exciting. I actually right before this, I was playing the new Steam release that you guys put out, so it was like perfect timing. I don't know if you guys planned that for today, or like how that process was, because I know you had the itch, but like I mostly play on Steam. I don't really play on itch, and so I was very happy. And there was a Mac version of it too, so I was playing on my Mac in the office. So it was a nice little break from work to be able to do that. But yeah, how's the process been, like getting the demo out and everything?
Yeah, we're both Mac girls, so I'm glad you mentioned that because I love that you can play it on Mac. And Steam has been a lot more of a process. It's just much easier to put on. That's why it came out first. I'm going to pass it to Yana to kind of talk about it because she led all of that effort.
Yeah, so I think like adding it to it because you have to wait for the review on like the store. It has to be up for 2 weeks, and then it goes through the 3 to 5 day process on like everything else. And so we were like, okay, we're ready. We've been working so tirelessly and like on the back end, the UI. So like just a little background, like the quiz and stuff, that's all UI, and the map and stuff, it's UI, and making sure that the scripts pull up because they're all randomized. So if you don't know, the dates you get are random. You don't know which one you'll get. It's not going to be one to one the same. And so doing all that, it's just a lot of back end work on making sure that when we're running through it. So we also wanted to make sure that it was available on both Windows and Mac because I know sometimes I've come on a game where I'm like, oh my god, I love it so much, and then I'm like, I have two laptops, so I'm lucky. But sometimes I'm like, ugh, I just want on my Mac because that's the one I use all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So do
Yeah.
you mostly? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, like Yana mentioned, having a game with RNG and gameplay elements, this is our first game like that. So that was definitely a lot heavier on the testing for us because there's so many different options that can happen, even though it's only a 3 day experience. I mean, you could probably replay it like 10 times and get completely different playthroughs every single time. So that was definitely fun, but also a challenge to coordinate for us versus the typical visual novel editing we've done in the past.
Yeah, for sure. So talking about the RNG elements, totally feel for you because like we've had that too, and like the playtesting gets so old for us fast because like we know what's happening in the back end. It's like we got to keep rolling and like rolling the dice to see if we're
Mhm.
getting the scenes that we want to see, or like is it working. So how have you guys been testing that? Like how many people get involved with it? How yeah, how are you doing all the tracking for all the possibilities?
Well, because we also write all the scripts, so we know which ones they're coming in, and with our, sub developer who helped us out, like some things he didn't know. So like, there's a possibility that the guy can say no to a date. So the first time he's thinking it's just like 1 to 1, and he was like, "Oh, he said no," and I'm like, "Yeah," because it's a calculated RNG. So how we tested it first is we would run actually through all the scripts without any of the RNG. We would just play that one first, run through it, fix any scripts, making sure sprites are always showing up, and all of that, and then we would do the RNG and like going through that because going through the prologue, going through all that, so there's just a lot of skipping and making sure it comes up and finding those. And so it's fun because again, there's RNG on the floor plan, there's RNG on the dates, all of that. So it's like trying to get all of the scenarios possible and making sure we've seen every single script. So there's just days and days and days and days. So we do it in Unity, and then we would have the actual app, which is itch, pulling that up and making sure, sometimes Kayla would get something that I didn't get, and making sure we're seeing the same thing. So it's a lot in the years and years of cultivating, like working it out. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And also, we had to make sure like the RNG even works because sometimes you'll think it's working, but there's something wrong with the bucket and it's not recycling. So we were trying to play in ways that a person probably wouldn't normally play, like going ice skating with Ren every hour of the day that you can and making sure that it cycles through everything properly. So that was an interesting challenge too, but we figured it out. But yeah, to answer your question, it's just the three of us. So me and Yana mainly, but then we also have a contract developer that helps us out too.
That's so impressive. It sounds like you all did such thorough work for the demo to make sure like it's working correctly and the way it should. Not gonna lie, sometimes when we release our demos and we've got RNG, we release it knowing like the bucket's not working because it's very atypical for someone to go on a date like every single hour, right? And we're like, we'll fix that later. We're just gonna get the demo out. So like any behind the scenes on things like that where it's like, you maybe you're gonna have another patch for the update, or like you guys are just solid right now with the demo.
I feel like we're pretty solid, but there are a couple things we want to patch. I know audio wise, a tip for anyone playing the demo: turn down the sound effects to like 50% because that is something that there's a sound effect that's really loud when the time changes that we need to patch. But can you think of anything else, Yana?
Like, so a couple things, like when we were having bucket issues and we were kind of like, okay, we could not figure out what was causing that. There's like a point where the loading screen comes up, but it's like, oh, it's a line of dialogue. It's not that like it matters. It's fine. It just helps so that the bucket moves through and doesn't continue to play. But other than that, not really. I think again, Kayla and I both, we've stayed up till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then we're up at like the next morning being like, did we find this? And so I think it helps because Kayla, like, we're just both looking at it from a different viewpoint. So then I'll find something, then she finds something, or like I'm like, hey, I didn't even notice, because you're so used to your own dialogue and everything, you already know what should happen, so you miss it. I think that's like the funny part for us, that Kayla can comment on it too. Like, we know what's supposed to come up, so you almost trick yourself into being like, that was fine. And then when you do like a regular playthrough, you're like, oh my gosh, how did I miss this? Because you were so used to be like, okay, skip, 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 skip. I just want to make sure it plays. So that happens
Yeah,
too.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
sure.
We had to stop ourselves and be like, okay, let's actually read everything this time. It's been like a month since we did that, so let's make sure. But yeah, there's really not much that we're planning on patching or changing. Very minor things, like she said, like one line of dialogue or that sound effect thing. But we made the decision to delay our launch to avoid having to patch it quickly. And I think it was the right decision because I feel happy about the
Yeah.
product.
Yeah, it looks so beautiful. And you mentioned that like there's a sound effect thing at the 50%. I thought it was great. I thought that was intentional because I thought it was a really great transition to know like, okay, time has changed, the game is moving forward, and you got the nice animation with the bunny and the sleeping bunny and everything. So like totally could not tell, and I thought that was a good
Oh,
intentional design
Thank you.
personally. But
thank you so much. Yeah, it's just some people were streaming it, and the headphone users were like, I'm done. When it came up
okay,
to this.
okay. Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to adjust that. But yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So I think this is your team's first Kickstarter, right? Because in the past, for like Evermore, like you just released direct
Mhm.
to mobile and everything. So how's the Kickstarter going? Like how's the Kickstarter going?
It's a really unique experience for us because, yeah, like you said, we've always gone direct. But this is the first time we wanted to do something more ambitious that does require a contract developer and not just Yana. That does require a lot more art and things like that. So we thought this was a good opportunity to get us to that stage. Yana, do you have anything to add as far as that?
Yeah, I think we always really want to invest to, like, the artistry and stuff. We've been planning out talking about the revamping of Snowkissed and really down to detail with the art, the music and everything, and wanting to make sure who we pick really understands our vision and can put in their own spin. And so, we always want to make sure too that we're paying people fairly. So, we don't ever say this is the only budget. We're like, okay, what's your price? We're going to pay that, and then making sure that they feel involved. So, with our icons artists, we let them put their own spin and talk to us. And, we feel like you're the expertise, tell us how we want it. And she brought such a wonderful vision to life. Our background artists, like, those are things that, like, we would say it in our mind what we wanted it to be. And then they really make it live and we're like, oh, yay. And, the sprites artist and the song, the audio composer, which, if you don't know, each of the guys actually has their own song. And then when the full game comes out, they'll have different renditions of the song to fit the mood that they're in. So it's like every little minor detail. So with Kickstarter, we were really just brand new, and we want to get to those goals so that we can release the full game, because because like the demo, like that is just literally a very minor bite size of what's to come. So we want to do it great. We want to do Steam, hopefully eventually Switch. I know now the Switch 2 is launched, so Switch 2, Steam Deck, all of that geared stuff. So we're hoping that, you know, that everybody likes it and wants to invest in it too. So yeah, and it's a lot of too like rallying around your own self and just being like, hey, like guys, like check this out, see it and stuff. I don't. It's not embarrassing. It just almost feels like you don't want to blow up your own head with it, but you're like, this is like really cool and stuff. So when I've seen other people's Kickstarter stuff too, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope like one day we can do something such a grand scale like that too. And that's where we're at now.
Yeah, I love that you guys went all for this, and I think that's such a great point. Your game is not cheap to make. You have so many quality of life features with the voice acting, and you've got like A-list voice actors in this game. Like, congrats on that. All the mini games, the RNG, right? All the animations, that takes time to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And like Fiona said, like the demo is just a small taste. Like it wasn't even cheap to make the demo. We made that with what we've made from My Love for You is Evermore and just our own pockets. But we have so much more planned. Like there's no CGs in the demo. There's going to be tons of CGs in the actual game. There's going to be flashbacks, so that's going to have all of their sprites as children. So that's a whole new set of sprites and art that we need to get still. Like we said, it's just 3 days for the demo, but it's going to be 3 weeks for the full game. So a lot more content, multiple endings, and a lot more voice content too, like you mentioned. So yeah, it is expensive for sure, but I think there really isn't too much on the market like this, and we really felt that it was special enough and hope that others feel that it's special enough to bring it to life.
Yeah, for sure. What is the timeline that you guys are thinking of with everything, like how things are going right now and just like getting the game out to market eventually?
Well, once the Kickstarter is fully funded, if we're able to do that, then it would come out in December of 2025. So, or potentially a little bit earlier for the early access and beta testers. But yeah, last quarter of this year is what we're targeting because we're still continuing to work on it even while the campaign and demo are live now.
Got it. So Kickstarter has a risk, right? And so everyone, please go and support the Kickstarter. We're going to put the links in the comments or the YouTube description. So please support it because it's an all or nothing model, which is, sometimes stressful. And like you are constantly checking on the campaign page and like doing the marketing for a 1 month plus, however long that campaign is. But because it's an all or nothing model, it's either you hit it or then you just lose all those pledges. Is there a backup plan for like Kickstarter or like any additional things that people can do to support?
We do have a Ko-fi account that we've had just for general support for towards the demo. So want to say thank you to people who donated to that because that was helpful for us too. But to be honest, I think we would try again. If it doesn't work out on Kickstarter the first time, I think we would just try again because I feel like we have all the tools to make it happen. We just need to reach the right amount of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. I thought I heard someone else speaking.
Oh, it was me. And I was also saying another way to totally support us too is you can always, if you haven't ever bought or tried out My Love for You is Evermore, that's another way, to support us too, because there's in-app purchases. We actually also hope to, in the springtime, to release that on Steam as well. It'll be a lot of the content on there that's on the app on there. The same amount that you've spent on the app, if you've never bought it there, would be the same price, 1-to-1, because we like to keep that the same. But yeah, just to echo Kayla's thing, like, this is something we've been playing Otome for over a decade. This is something we're really invested in. And I know a lot of with a lot of other Otome too, it's a lot of the plot heavy, or sometimes it's a lot of things and some chatter that I've always seen on Twitter. It's just, this is another way to fall in love the way that you choose to. And what Snowkissed really is to me is a game that you play and you snuggle up in your bed, or you just play and you have fun and you get to go really hang out with your friends and do all this. So it's like, so important to us. That's why we don't have the MC on screen. You could obviously choose your eye color, hair color, and all of that, but it really is you and your day to day. And it just reminds me of games that we also used to play when we were younger, plus like Tokimeki and Angelique. So it's like so special to Kayla and I. And I feel like if you've never met us or whatever, this is such a huge piece of our hearts in this. Like everything we do is together, from the dialogue to the picking of even the font color. Kayla and I talk to each other about it. So it's if we don't do this time, like we're not going to stop until we get it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And I really feel that there is a gap in the market for this. Like you mentioned, with Tokimeki Memorial was a huge inspiration for us for RNG elements and dates, going on dates and choosing locations. Definitely was inspired by that. Another big inspiration is Angelique, as far as like date planning goes, was inspired by that. And then another big inspiration for us are the old Hasbro TV games called Dream Life. So that's kind of it. So there's old TV games or Japan exclusives that have this kind of content. So this is a way for us to bring that magic here to the West and do it in a really fun 90s shoujo aesthetic that I know a lot of people also love. So
Yeah, it's still super popular. I mean, to this day, like people are obsessed with like Sailor Moon, right? Like I've been seeing so much Sailor, and I don't normally like I watched Sailor Moon when I was younger, but I don't watch it as much anymore. And it's not like I click on stuff Sailor Moon, but I've been seeing it consistently in my feed with all the new like stuff that's coming out for it. So
Mhm.
90s is still super popular. Gen Z are like going towards the 90s fashion too and like rediscovering the era, right? So I think you guys have like hit it in terms of trends and cultural significance, and can totally see all the effort you both have been putting in. Like the whole vibes of the game is very cohesive, even though you're working with, as you mentioned, all these different artists. Like you can tell this is like a love letter to the 90s and to all the games that you mentioned, but it's a unique spin still, and it's very much gamified, which is awesome, and I absolutely love. Um, so can you talk about the team a little bit? Like how has it been managing so many moving pieces because there's so many features and like all the quality of life things that you have in the game?
Yeah, so just to start, it's always Kayla and I. And so first what we do is map out and talk out everything. So like we talked about the storyline. One day it starts literally was in our kitchen together when we were still living together and saying like, you always know that common trope back in the day when like miscommunication would happen, but we all have cell phones. So we're like, how do we mitigate something like that so it makes it more sense that they may have lost contact? We start from there and then we go from there. And then really doing a lot of research together of like artists that we, would really fit the aesthetic that we're looking for and can really get our vision. Kayla's really good with creating, what the world map or like the UI. So when you guys look at the UI, Kayla's really done the first set of work and then we've contract out to our icon artist who then created that vision together. So like the colors, the blending, all of that, the map, even the floor map, that's Kayla and I really saying like, what do we want it to kind of look like? And then how do we get the colors? And then, our subcontractor saying like, yeah, that's possible. This is how we do it. Or, where do we want things to pop up? That is such a planning stage. And then we contract people out and we contact them and we, let them know, hey, we loved your work. Would you be interested in this? Can you do this possibility? Let's do a trial. And then they do. It turns out, great. And, you know, trying to make sure that no matter who we get fits within our dynamic. So we're on Discord, then we're on emails. If Kayla's at work and I'm answering, and it's things like that. But we're always, to me, together 24/7. She won't say yes until I say yes, and I don't say yes until she says yes. And if she says no, I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. I agree with you.
Yeah.
yeah, there's so many different modes of communication and like balancing that has to happen, especially for us. Like Yana mentioned, we do everything first, and we feel like we can't seek out the artists yet until we have our grounds laid and we know exactly what we want. So, like she said, we decided, okay, it doesn't make sense if they have cell phones that they would lose contact for 6 years. So it's going to be set in the 90s. And once we set that up, we started working on all of that. And because of that, it took a while before we were actually able to start hiring artists. So we didn't actually start the hiring process until like August, September of last year. So we were working with kind of a tight window. So it was very difficult to find artists that were open for commission, could do the 90s aesthetic that we wanted, had the time to complete it, and could do it by the end of the year. Um, but we ended up finding a lot of great people. Our original vision was to have one artist or team of artists work on the whole thing, but we ended up finding artists from all over the world. We have a character artist from Japan, we have an icon artist from Spain. So there's like, I want to say, there's been 5 artists that work on it to get it to where it needs to be within that time frame.
That's awesome. I can't imagine like all the amount of conversations as you guys mentioned because like in order to have such a cohesive game that you guys have done in terms of like you know what you're getting, it doesn't feel like it's pieced together, right? Like you need really strong foundations. And the fact that like you guys got it all done and it sounds like it was Q3 and Q4, right? Since August of last year, that's incredible. That's incredible. Um Anything that you think that people might be surprised by when they play the either the itch demo or the Steam demo, and if they've never played like well, let's say they're Tokimeki fans, right? Because I think when I saw your game, I'm a Tokimeki fan. I was like, I'm down. I am so down. I need like another rendition of Tokimeki that's like totally new and different, right? So what can players be surprised by when checking out your guys' demo?
I have one little one. Oh, go ahead, Yana. Oh, are you on mute? I can't hear Yana.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yes. It's the harem thing. So I think a lot of people don't know you can
that's what I
actually
was gonna
date
say.
2 guys or the group at once. So the harem you can date if you go on to like ask for a date, there's a double heart and it's a harem, so you can see which group like 2 guys you can date at the same time. I feel like a lot of people didn't know that. And I think another one, so the guys, pop up within like the kitchen, the balcony, or the living room. For right now, if they're in their room, you can't interact with them. In the full game, you gain more and more points with them, and so then you can like whenever you get a certain amount of points, then you can interact. But in 3 days, you don't get enough. But the harem is one that I've seen people stream, and they're like, "Oh, like I wish I could date more than one guy," or like, "Wouldn't it be so fun if I could date like 2 guys?" I'm like, "You can if you just select the little 2 hearts."
Yes, and it's only specific locations. So only for the demo, we have Emerald Peaks, which is going skiing or snowboarding, and then the Royal Plate Restaurant, which is only available at the evening time slot. You can also do a harem date there. So those are the 2 times that you can date 2 guys at once, just as long as the 2 guys like each other well enough to do the harem date. And that was definitely inspired by Tokimeki 3.
Yes.
Yeah. When Yana first got that one, she had gotten the third one before me. I was still playing 2, and she was like, Kayla, you could date 2 guys at once in this one. And we were
The
like, we
sieging.
have to do that.
That is awesome. I love like again, you both have mentioned customization. Like there is truly so much customization in this game because like in the beginning you set up your MC, your player, right? And like not only do you select your hair, your eye color, your name, but like we can choose our traits and just like how we want our, love interest to be like too. And also like when you guys talked about the harem, I didn't know that, and I just took notes on a post-it of the locations because I'm like, okay, that's good to know, and like trying to figure out the schedules and everything. It's for the people who want like more interactive with Otome games and being able to study it and feel like we earned our romance, which is so awesome.
Yeah, I definitely want to touch on the personality thing because I totally forgot to mention that too. I do think that's an element that would surprise people. I don't know of any other Otome games where you can actually take on and develop a unique personality, like being more sporty or being more bookish or being more bold or being more shy. So that was something that was really important to us and super fun to write and do based on the different stat points that you have, the unique personality and what that personality would engage with the other characters. So if you're a little bit more sweet and soft, it might not jive as well with Kichiro because he likes a more like feisty personality to play off of.
That's awesome. How much writing is there in this then? Like I can't imagine like that. Oh my gosh. I'm like, oh, how much? I mean, that's awesome for y'all. It's awesome for players. But I'm feeling like stressed for y'all.
It is a lot. Like just in the demo, every location there's at least 3 different variations per guy or guys. Um, just in that, and then of course with the different personalities, that adds tons of different offshoots within those scripts.
Yeah, plus the solo scripts, plus Suki scripts, and then there's some locations that have group dates. And then the guys obviously have more than one outfit. So if you don't know, on different days they wear different outfits. So then you have to duplicate it and make sure that like the right day writes the right outfit. And yeah, if your points change, so your convos can change based off of your points. So sometimes you won't notice because you're playing and you're like, cool, if you play this place again, if you've earned more points, if you've changed your point system, the dialogue will completely change the same place. So you think like this is a new script, like it might be the same script, it just was different lines that happen. And also, same thing if you decided to change like the food type you type in and they mention it, it changes every single time.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Another thing, a tip for people who are trying to develop their personality a little bit differently as they're playing in the demo. Obviously, the biggest chunk that determines your stat points is that personality quiz in the beginning. You get some for your zodiac, some for your blood type, and then some based on the scenario based questions. But in addition to that, if you're just at the suite, if the bathroom is not occupied, you can go in there and interact with the mirror to get some charisma or charm. Also, based on locations you go, if you are going skiing constantly, athleticism is going to go up. If you're going shopping constantly, style is going to go up. Ice skating is elegance. So, on top of the choices that you say dialogue wise, also just locations and things that you do change your points too.
That's so awesome. Again, it's so much like customization and replay value. I feel like even with the demo, I could replay it several times and it's only 3 days, right? But because there's so many options you can choose and like all of the things that you mentioned, it's not going to get stale at all. And like sometimes with like Tokimeki, I will say that sometimes gets stale because like there's a pattern, right? But it sounds like the work you all are doing here, there's so much opportunity to adjust for like the type of person I want to be. Like maybe I want to be the sporty person like for this one run through. Maybe I want to like see what the shy like personality would be like, which I don't think like you said earlier, we don't get that with other games. For certainly not Tokimeki. So yeah, that's so awesome. What inspired that to implement a system like that?
I think it all really starts from our mission, which is to make games so people can fall in love their way. And that always had been our mission, even with My Love for You is Evermore, when we have the MC off the screen. That was our first kind of step into it. And we're like, how can we up the ante? Let's let you change your appearance. Let's let you change your gender. And then changing your personality is that next level.
Yeah, and I feel like it makes you feel more immersive in the dating aspect of it all because you do tend to change when you're dating a guy or like the kind of guy you think you like, and you're like, do I really like this? Like, this is my personality versus their personality, and it helps you feel more, I think, in my opinion, engaged in the conversation. I always think of it like The Sims back in like Sims 2 era when you like would get those different points to say, and all of a sudden you realize like your Sims aren't compatible with other Sims, and so that's kind of like my feel of it too. Again, I always felt like I want to be immersed and I want them to like my personality. And we've played games where they're like, oh no, all the time, or maybe you have on the other like really other side of the spectrum of like those very badass MCs who are just very much the fighting or something like that. And it's not that those are bad; those are great. I just want all of the in between too, so that everybody else feels a little piece of them in our games.
Yeah, if you've ever been playing a game, like me and Yana, when we play games together, we're always like screaming at the MC, like, why did you do that? Especially when
Yeah.
we're playing Brothers Conflict, because Emma's personality is something else. But
Yep,
we were
yep.
like, we don't want that in this. We want it to feel true to you when the MC is making
Yeah.
observations and thoughts.
I think that's so huge because, like, in the industry right now, especially when people are checking out indie games, like, that is almost an expectation is to have some form of customization, right? But a lot of the customization that I see out in the market right now is very cosmetic. It doesn't really impact the gameplay. But, like, what you guys are doing is, like, you have different types of reactions and lines and different things that happen because of the decisions that people are making in terms of their customization, which is awesome. So, for all the listeners out there, if you want your customization, like this is the game to like play and actually feel and see how that romance will fold along the way because of your choices. Um, any last parting interesting tidbits that you think people might not know about Snowkissed Romance to get them excited? And I mean, I'm already excited. I'm so down. I really hope the Kickstarter gets funded. I can't wait until the end of the year. That'll be perfect timing with like Q4 holidays and being able to cozy up, especially since it's all the vibes of the ski resort and everything. But yeah, any last parting words for our viewers?
I'd say hope again. We appreciate all of you guys. We're so glad to be part of such a great community of all that. We do hope it also gets funded because we want to see everybody out there, because we're going to go out there and try to show our demo and everything to the world. And we hope that you guys can see us shine from within this game. And yeah, like we're just coming back with full force more and more. And so we hope we can continue to do this forever.
Yeah, definitely please share. I love watching streams of you guys playing it and what you decide to choose. So definitely stream it if you're a streamer. Share screenshots if you're just playing through and let us know your thoughts because we definitely want to hear your voice. And just be excited for the full game because there's stuff that, even though we tried to put a lot of the features into the demo, there's stuff that got cut that we have planned for the full game. Like there's going to be a whole festival area. We're going to have a tarot reader that can like do special things. There's a whole arc with the town lore, with the god and goddess and their love story. So just look forward to it.
So much world building. You're getting me more excited here. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Kayla and Yana, for joining. Everyone, please check out the Kickstarter. Again, there's an itch demo. There's also Steam demo. Like wishlist that Steam. Like put out those comments. And again, you both have a Ko-fi. So like if you want to support in other ways besides the Kickstarter, there's a Ko-fi. But thank you all for watching and good luck, Kayla, Yana, with Snowkissed Romance. I'm so excited for it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natalie.